Could the tragedy of 9/11 have been avoided? Do ancient Jewish traditions give us clues to discovering impending disasters before they happen? Has a group of internationally renowned scientists found the key to unlocking a vast reservoir of future knowledge? Is there a scientifically verifiable code underlying the surface text of the Bible that might help the world avoid disasters like 9/11 in the future?
The astonishing presence of these codes beneath the biblical text triggers staggering implications regarding the precision of the biblical text.
Was there a message encoded in the Bible thousands of years ago that warned the people of New York and the world that such a disaster was coming?
The 9/11 terrorist attack cluster continues to grow as a very tight cluster of codes beneath Ezekiel 7.
Did the Bible code foretell the tragedy of 9/11? Another ancient secret of the Bible is about to be revealed. We are about to look through the pages of the first continuous recorded history of mankind in the book we call the Holy Bible, as we continue our investigation into some of its most controversial stories and try to answer some very tough questions. Is the Bible a reliable account of miraculous interventions, of angels, apostles, and the power of prayer? Or is it just a collection of stories and myth, as some modern-day critics suggest? Both Bible skeptics and proponents from around the world have contributed to this exciting discussion. Some of these biblical revelations may shock and surprise you. Ever since the discovery of the Bible codes over 20 years ago, scientists, scholars, and theologians have argued over the reality and meaning of what appears to be yet another incredible aspect of this amazing book. Names, places, and events are mentioned that reach even into modern times. For the next half hour, we will examine the intriguing notion that the World Trade Center disaster was documented over 4,000 years ago. But how could this be? If the codes are in fact real, does it mean that we have a platform from which to view our own future?
Well, the Bible code can be a very complicated code. It takes an understanding of statistics. It's not a crossword. There's got to be statistical value for it to have any value in itself. Now, it also has got to work with a proper understanding of God's Word and of His plan for humanity. When these two come together, then we have a chance of having an accurate code.
In the days following the terrible tragedy that befell New York City and America on September 11, 2001, many people turned to their Bible for comfort, guidance, and direction. Could it be there is far more to be found in its pages than any of us realize? Is there a complex set of hidden codes embedded in the Old Testament text of the Bible that can give all of mankind a glimpse into the future? Has the code already revealed the outcome of thousands of years of hostility, fear, and hatred in the Middle East? Can the reality of this Bible code be demonstrated and even proven in today's skeptical world? Have governments and nations learned anything from the Bible codes in the past decade that can help us face the uncertainty of a dangerous world? Was there, in fact, a warning of the terrorist attack on New York hidden in the ancient text that can be scientifically proven? Words and phrases relating to modern events appear to have been discovered hidden beneath the surface text of the Bible. Over the past 2 decades, the question has become, does this code reveal what is to come? After more than 20 years of study, researchers are still unsure.
Every major event in world history, every major figure in world history appears to be encoded in the Bible.
But if such things as the monumental tragedy of the World Trade Center towers in New York are there in these codes, the question becomes, can the codes be accessed in a way that will let us prepare in advance for other impending disasters? The fact is, events have been discovered in the code, but the results of those discoveries and whether or not other events can or even should be sought is the subject of a lively debate, a debate that began about 4,000 years ago. According to the Bible, a man called Moses was told by God himself to come up on Mount Sinai, where he would be given tables of stone and the law and commandments, which, quote, I have written. According to ancient Jewish tradition, God wrote more than just the 10 Commandments. He wrote the entire Torah, the first 5 books of the Bible. Moses was merely the scribe. But almost from the moment Moses came down from the mountain, critics have complained that God wouldn't write such a thing, and Moses couldn't write it. Incredibly, after thousands of years of research and study, scientists, scholars, and theologians still can't agree. Then, in 1982, 3 world-class Israeli scientists decided to see if there was any scientific evidence that might sway the argument one way or the other. 40 years earlier, a brilliant Holocaust survivor and rabbi had demonstrated that something called an ELS code, derived from counting specific numbers of letters in the text, actually existed in the Bible. Now, Eliyahu Rips, Doron Witzum, and Yoav Rosenberg decided to see if they could prove it scientifically. Their 10-year study sparked worldwide controversy and interest in the ancient text and started the enduring mystery of the Bible codes. And almost from the very beginning of the discovery, the question was asked, if the codes are real, can they be used to tell the future? The debate has both religious and scientific implications.
The Bible expressly prohibits any form of divination.
The Bible does prohibit seeking the future through fortune tellers, witches, even astrology. But putting the Bible code in the same class with fortune tellers is an insult to God.
We can demonstrate, using the laws of quantum mechanics, specifically the uncertainty principle and chaos theory, that it is absolutely impossible within the laws of physics and mathematics as we know it today to know the future in detail as is demonstrated in these codes. Consequently, we come to the scientific conclusion that the author of these codes is not bound by the laws of physics and mathematics as we understand it.
It would seem then that if science has proven that the Bible code is beyond chance, and if the scope of the encryption is beyond the scope of human ability, it should be safe to assume that future events that are encoded in the Bible can be scientifically accessed and acted upon. Or is it?
When going into the future, we have to guess at the words because the event hasn't happened yet. We don't know what it is. As soon as you start guessing the words, as soon as you start guessing the context and trying to determine what would be the event that would use these words, you're out of the realm of science. You're guessing. It's subjective. It's not scientific anymore.
If that's the case, the Bible code phenomenon presents researchers, scientists, theologians, Christians, and Jews with the unnerving paradox that while the Bible code clearly foretells events far into the future, that future is still close to us even though the book is in our hands. Perhaps the best way to approach the problem is to look at some of the things that have been revealed within the Bible code in advance of their actually happening. In 1990, the city of Tel Aviv in Israel was a city gripped by fear. The Iraqi dictator Saddam Hussein had threatened to send Scud missiles into Israel in retaliation for coalition attacks on Iraqi forces in Kuwait. The question was not if, but when he would launch the missiles. If the government of Israel could only know when the attack would come, they could better prepare their citizens. As it was, all they could do was tell the people to be ready for anything, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Terror of the unknown engulfed the city of Tel Aviv. Meanwhile, in Jerusalem, 3 Israeli scientists, Eliyahu Rips, Doron Witzum, and Yoav Rosenberg, were poring over data from their amazing new discovery. They had told the government They might be able to pinpoint the exact date of the missile attack using computers and the Bible. Israeli officials were skeptical, but the conditions in Tel Aviv and other border communities were unbearable. The Mossad, Israel's intelligence agency, provided the scientists with the 3 dates they thought the attack would most likely occur, and the scientists went to work. They believed they had discovered a mathematically precise system of encoded messages which had to do with the Gulf War. Now they would have to demonstrate the validity of their discovery under the most crucial of circumstances. They were looking for something thought to be impossible, something specific, a date, and an event still somewhere in the future. Could it be that somehow the precise date of what could be Israel's darkest hour was foreshadowed nearly 4,000 years ago in the pages of the Bible? The computer found all 3 of the dates the Mossad had given the scientists, but the most prominent was the 3rd Shavat. And on January 18, 1991, the 3rd Shavat on the Jewish calendar, the first Scud missiles were launched from Iraq upon the citizens of Tel Aviv. Today, the Israeli government refuses to confirm that a team of research scientists pinpointed the exact date by means of the Bible code. But they don't deny it either. In another instance made famous in a book by writer and former journalist Michael Drosnin, the Bible code anticipated the assassination of then Israeli Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin. Drosnin had become aware of the code's research being done by Rips and his colleagues, and had followed it carefully for years. Then, one day, he discovered in the code the name of Yitzhak Rabin. That in itself isn't too surprising. But he also found, running across the page and bisecting Rabin's name, the words, "assassin that will assassinate." The assassinations of Anwar Sadat and Robert Kennedy had already been found encoded in the Bible, and the research was so unerringly accurate he felt he must try to warn Rabin. Drosnin made arrangements to meet a close friend of the Prime Minister's to see if he would deliver a letter to him. The friend was incredulous. Nevertheless, he agreed to take the letter to Rabin, but he warned Drosnin that the Prime Minister would pay no attention to anything called Bible codes. He was right. Rabin completely ignored the warning, and on November 4, 1995, the information encoded in the Bible proved all too correct. Rabin was gunned down by an assassin who believed he was on a mission from God. Modern researchers working on their own and independent of the original Bible Code research team appear to have also proven the accuracy of the Bible Code. The results of the Clinton impeachment vote and subsequent hearings were also forecast in the Bible Code. And when the 2000 presidential race came down to the state of Florida, Bible Code researchers discovered a matrix that correctly revealed Bush the winner. Apparently, some events can be anticipated by a careful review of the amazing Bible Code. But what about events like the barbaric terrorist attack on the World Trade Center? Can such incomprehensible acts have been actually anticipated in the Bible, specifically the Old Testament? Were we, in fact, forewarned of an impending disaster? Let's take a moment here and explain exactly what an ELS, or equidistant letter sequence code, is and how it is constructed. To detect an ELS code, a computer must first be programmed to write down the first letter of the encoded word, represented in our formula by N. The computer will then skip a fixed number of letters, represented here by the character D. Write that letter, skip the same number of letters, and write that letter, and so on. Let's try a simple example. Rips explained that each code is a case of adding every 4th or 12th or 50th letter to form a word. Skip X spaces and another X spaces and another X spaces, and the hidden message is spelled out. Now, this appears to be nothing more than a simple description of ELS coding, but if you begin with the first letter of the paragraph, R, then skip every 3 letters and pick up the 4th letter following, the coded message is revealed. The rule is simple. In a selected text, each letter in sequence at the specified skip interval will spell out the coded word or phrase. And while the rule may be simple, the task of creating a message that seamlessly integrates such messages into an otherwise harmless text is what the science of cryptography is all about. For centuries, science and religion have at least appeared to be on opposite sides of the fence. Not all scientists, however, believe the two concepts were mutually exclusive. Sir Isaac Newton served as provost of Cambridge University for many years and is generally regarded as the first modern scientist. It is Newton who figured out the mechanics of the solar system and is credited with the discovery of the functions of gravity. He was also a firm believer in the existence of a biblical code.
Isaac Newton was certain there is a hidden code in the Bible. He desperately tried to find it. He learned Hebrew and spent more than half of his life searching for the Bible code.
But Newton lacked the one essential tool that was available to Rips and his colleagues, the computer. Today, a computer, typically with more computing power and capacity than the machines used to do the initial research, is available to almost anyone, as is the software that permits anyone with a computer to access this remarkable discovery. But exactly what should the average person be looking for? For many people, practical applications of the discovery of the Bible code and all the ongoing code research is in unmasking the greatest mystery of all, the future. But there is a problem. According to Michael Drosnin, the Yitzhak Rabin discovery proves the codes can be used to see the future. But according to Dr. Rips, Dr. Whitsom, and Harold Gans, all that has been proven is that the codes exist, and they are not a mere coincidence. In fact, Professor Whitsom, who was the first to investigate the possibility of predicting the future through the Bible codes, has stated unequivocally that he found incontrovertible evidence proving it impossible to predict the future with the hidden codes. All attempts to make predictions based on them, Whitsom said, are futile and of no value. But this may have been a public smokescreen made necessary by the work being done by the scientific trio for Israeli intelligence. One of the trio later wrote a New York publisher, in fact, confirming that the code could be used for predictive purposes. But some critics still suggest the whole idea of a Bible code has no practical value.
The computer can look in so many different ways at a text that finding hidden messages in it is almost guaranteed. For example, I looked at the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea and I found in there the hidden message, "Hear all the law of the sea." I looked at the text of Moby Dick and I found the hidden message, "Oceans hold joy." Both of these are extremely unlikely to occur by chance, yet they did occur.
Yet both the reality of the predicted events as well as the scientific reality of unpredictability appear to be immune to criticism. Is there any way to reconcile these two apparently conflicting concepts? No one could have anticipated the actions of Timothy McVeigh in Oklahoma City, yet this event figures prominently in the Bible Code.
The Bible Code matrix about the Oklahoma City bombing reveals much about the incident. The key word is Timothy McVeigh. Crossing McVeigh's name are the words slay man, woman and infant. The bomb was delivered in a truck which the code refers to as a chariot of fire. Also mentioned, Ryder truck, Terry Nichols, the convicted co-conspirator, and the date, April 19, 1995. In an adjacent code it says Timothy McVeigh, hired killer, and he will die, which of course happened.
It all seems to have taken place just as the Bible Code suggests, but none of it was discovered until after the fact. But what about the tragedy of September 11, 2001? Was there a Bible Code warning? On May 7, 1999, a national television special on the Bible Code reported that a number of code researchers had begun to examine the biblical text in search of future events surrounding the year 2000 and the new millennium. What they found coincided with already established prophecies. The report stated that in New York, Codes researcher Keith Jackson had been examining an Old Testament matrix that seemed to confirm the destruction the Bible predicts for the modern daughter of Babylon, if, as some scholars suggest, that city is in fact New York.
I found 14 items within the matrix. Those 14 items, when taken together, suggested that there would be some type of terrorist attack against the city of New York a little bit beyond the year 2000.
The Bible Code warning of a terrorist attack on New York City was broadcast on national TV 28 months ahead of the actual attack. But what were some of the other 14 items found in the 1999 Matrix that weren't aired in the TV special?
The New York Matrix mentions Arabs, war, many weapons, several small bombs and devices. It also mentions city burned and many perish. In addition to that, it suggests that there will be an ongoing attack.
Within 3 hours of the start of the terrorist attack, Bible Code researchers re-examined the matrix discovered by Keith Jackson and found numerous words and phrases that were relevant to what was happening at the time. September 11, 2001. In the morning. New York attack. World Trade Center. 4 planes, 2 buildings. American. United. Terrorist. USA government. Kabul. Afghanistan. Taliban. And Osama bin Laden guilty. It was days and weeks later before the U.S. government confirmed who was behind the terrorist attack.
Since the September 11 attack, several prominent codes researchers have discovered what appears to be a great deal of detail about the attack. Could it be that the biblical prophecy of the surface text itself is the bridge between what can and cannot be foretold? Are there some things researchers not only can, but should be looking for?
Encoded in the Bible code, within the Old Testament, we find quite a bit of information about this Antichrist, information that is also given to us in the New Testament. For example, we can find the Antichrist involvement in Middle East politics. We can find the length of his reign. We can find the 10, let's say, political entities with which he will reign. And we can also find its foreshadows in former global governments such as Persia, Babylon, Egypt, Rome, Greece. So those are quite amazing findings that we are given to look upon through the Bible code in the Old Testament.
Is it possible that the discovery of the Bible code itself is part and parcel of the end-time warnings? Following the events of 9/11, many Bible code researchers began examining the Torah in greater depth, seeking to not only confirm the validity of the Bible code itself, but to see if there were, in fact, clues to what might happen next.
The name Osama bin Laden is found once in the whole Bible. It is the key code for the 9/11 attack. Nearby that name, we can also find the names of heads of states and countries such as Libya, Iraq, Lebanon, and the names Gaddafi and Saddam Hussein. Now, could this mean that these people were involved in the attack? We don't know, but maybe it's worth investigating.
The World Trade Center matrix is far more advanced than other code matrices. It now has 30 terms that are complete sentences, which is something entirely new in codes research. The statistical odds of this information occurring is only 1 chance in 10 to the 340th power, the number 1 followed by 340 zeros. What's more, these sentences can actually point us in entirely new directions. For example, in the book of Numbers we find, "She utters words, Bin Laden is in me, and behold, he committed crimes," where she probably refers to the USA. Also in the book of Numbers, this sentence appears, "He will do again in year 5762, where you will cry out, the male." In the Jewish calendar, the year 5762 began on September 18, 2001. The significance became all too clear when anthrax letters began appearing through the mail.
Other code researchers are also finding longer, more complex information in the Bible code as a result of the World Trade Center attack.
The 9/11 terrorist attack cluster continues to grow as a very tight cluster of codes beneath Ezekiel 7. The focal code of this cluster is an unusually lengthy ELS of 28 letters, with a very short skip of only 15 letters. It reads, "New York, they accompany the unfortunate who are stricken in it. The worshippers are gathering around God." This certainly seems to be what's happened since the attack. But its length, location in the text, and brevity of skip make it one of the most significant Bible codes ever discovered.
According to Bible Code Digest, Saddam Hussein was also deeply involved in the terrorist attacks on September 11th. All of this is intriguing, of course, but critics still insist that codes similar to those found in the Bible can be found in almost any book.
It's true that many single words or short codes might be found in any book, particularly if extremely long skips are allowed. However, the odds of finding a code as long as this about Saddam Hussein are less than 1 in a billion. And in fact, if we consider the entire terrorist attack cluster in Ezekiel, it is impossible that such an extensive cluster could be due to random chance.
The astonishing presence of these codes beneath the biblical text triggers staggering implications regarding the precision of the biblical text and the validity of the view that these very letters were dictated by God for a reason. If we deny the codes, we lose its blessings.
We have the first scientific evidence we have ever had that we're not alone, because no human being put this code into the Bible. Some intelligence, very different than our own, one that could see across time, encoded the Bible 3,000 years ago with accurate information about today's world and perhaps tomorrow's. This changes everything.
According to the mathematicians and scientists, there's theoretically no limit to what could be learned from the information that might be encoded. There could be 10 or 20 billion combinations, more than anyone could ever count. And that is only the first and crudest level of the Bible code, a level that is already being expanded. Was this hidden text sealed up in a sort of time lock that could only be opened with the invention of computers? More importantly, can this amazing discovery ultimately make the world a safer place? Or is it just a curiosity of numbers and language? You might want to think about that the next time you pick up your Bible.